Hey guys, for those of you who don't know, my name is Lizzy and I'm here to bring you a very exciting video, and that is me recommending some fall books to you guys and also showing you guys a little bit of my fall TBR. But yeah, I'm very excited to be talking about fall books because fall is literally my favorite holiday. I think I can say that for everyone. Like, I don't think I know anyone who doesn't like fall. And if you don't like fall, I'm really concerned for you. No, I'm just joking. But guys, I have some amazing, incredible, just fall themed books, or just books that gave me the cozy vibe, or some thrillers, or just some like really great books that I'm really excited to share for you guys. So I'm gonna start with the genre romance. So guys, this first book that I'm going to show you is a book that has been circulating around the book talk literally for like 2 years, and that is Archer's Voice. And I'm pretty certain that you guys already know about this book. Either you already know about this book or have read this book. Probably 80% of you have. But if you have not, this is one of my favorite romance books. It's definitely a tearjerker. So the main character is going to move, she's moving to a small town in Maine, and in this small town there's this guy who famously just is kind of a grump. He doesn't talk to anyone, he's kind of mean to people, or he just doesn't talk to people, and he has a very like traumatic past, and there's a reason why he doesn't really speak up much. And that's where our story goes, is she obviously meets him, and I won't go any further than that, but I'll just say that it's a really emotional read. It's got some topics in it that are hard to like imagine, but it is a really great book, and I just feel like it gave me fall vibes because it's in a small town, it's in Maine. It just like gave me really cozy vibes, so that's why I recommend this book. So yeah. Alright guys, my second book is another book that has been circulating for like ever, and that's Daisy Jones and the Six. This is one of my 5-star reads. Like, this book literally just honestly took me by surprise. I literally loved this book so much. I read the audiobook while reading this book, and I feel like that's just like the perfect way to go about reading this book. This is basically a book about a band's start to their upbringing to like their finish in like the 70s, and I didn't expect it to like it as much as I did, but it just like, you feel connected to these characters because you're growing with them, and it was just such a good, amazing read. Like, it was so emotional, so heart-wrenching at times, but I recommend it. I don't know, it just is such an amazing book, and I'm so happy that I read it because I enjoyed literally every single moment of this book. So, and I recommend this book for fall because it also gave me a cozy vibe. It's in like the 70s with this band, and it was just a really great book. But yeah, Daisy Jones and the Six. Alright guys, so my next romance book that I recommend is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. And the reason why I recommend this book is, first off, because our two main characters, she's a ballerina and he's a football player, and to my knowledge, to my very small football knowledge, I'm pretty sure that football takes place in the season of fall. So obviously he's a football player, so this book takes place in the fall time. And I thought this book was just so stinking cute. I don't think I've smiled so much reading a book. This was just a really cute, wholesome, this is a friends to lovers, they've been friends for like forever. It was super cute. I really love this book. I love the opposites attract kind of trope, and just the way that Sarah Adams, like, it just like really made me believe in their feelings. It was a really cute book. And this is also a closed door romance, for those of you who don't know. That basically means that there's no spice in this book. So it's a very clean romance. It was very cute, very romantic. I really enjoyed this book. So yeah, The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. Alright guys, this next book really caused some turmoil in my personal life, and that is Pack Up the Moon by Kristen Higgins. Guys, this book made me cry so hard. This is literally a book about a guy whose wife died. She leaves him 12 letters for him to read the 12 months that she is gone. So basically you are going through this guy's grief for a year, reading these letters, and it is literally heart-wrenching. It is such a beautiful love story as well. I feel like this is just a great book to read if you want to cry. Listen, sometimes I want to cry. And for me, that's not really hard. I kind of cry at everything. I'm a big crier. So it doesn't really take a lot for me to cry when I read a book because I get very invested in the characters and treat them like they're real, which, might be a problem to some people, but to those of you who read, that's how, But I feel like if you want a good cry, if you want to feel something, read this book. Because crying can be therapeutic and crying can be healing. So, I would definitely recommend this book if you feel like getting your heart broken, if you want to die inside, if you want any of those things, go ahead and read this book. I have no reason for it feeling like a fall book because it's cozy, sad, heart-wrenching, terrible, sad. It's just sad. But, sometimes sad books are, sometimes they're good, and this is one of them. So, yeah. Alright, guys. My next romance book is probably the only spooky romance book that I'm recommending you, and that is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Guys, this book was so good. This book, I read it maybe 2 months ago. I really wish I saved it for the fall time though, because this is basically about a writer who needs to write a manuscript on a deadline, and she tries to push that deadline and basically causes beef between her and this one editor because he won't push the deadline. And obviously there's banter, there's beef, obviously there's attraction as well. But another fun fact about this girl is that she sees ghosts, she sees dead people. So there's that aspect to this story. So there's that aspect to this story as well, is just that she sees dead people and she gets an unfortunate call from home in a small town in Massachusetts, which is also fall vibes, and in the October fall vibes, and she sees an interesting ghost there, and I won't go further than that other than you need to read this book because it was literally so good. I did cry reading this book as well. But that's not really saying a lot, Like I said before, I cry very easily reading books, but this book just was 5 stars, first of all. It was so cute, so unexpectedly, just really got me in my heart. And it was also kind of creepy as well. So, you have all of those aspects. But I really do recommend this book. It was so good. It was so good. So please, 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 if you have not read this book, please pick it up in this fall season. I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. So yeah. Alright guys, so that is it for my fall romance book recommendations, my strictly romance, So now I have some Coho reads. I know that she's also romance, but she also has the theme of heartbreak, trauma, So I have some reads from her as well for you guys to pick up, and one of them is obviously November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I read this book, I think, back in May, but I think I read this book in one sitting. First of all, it is super short, super easy to just divulge yourself in because it has a really interesting theme in this book. Basically, these two people meet and have a connection, and they decide to meet once a year on November 9th for like 3 years. And there's some things that are discovered, and that's all I'm going to say. And I am going to say that some people hate this book. I personally loved it. But if you didn't like this book and you didn't like the twist, keep it to yourself, because we can like books. We can like books and we don't have to replicate what happens in the books, you know? There's a reason why books are fiction, and that's because it's fake and it would never happen. So, you know, I can like a book and not want to replicate the behavior. You know, it's obvious that just because I like a book doesn't mean that I am associating myself with that person who is doing said things that I will not mention unless you've read this book. But if you do, then you know what I'm talking about. And why would you judge someone off a book they read? That just seems silly. But I don't even know why I have to say that, because it's kind of ridiculous at this point. But I could go on a tangent about how Book Talk loves to judge people who read Colleen Hoover. But I won't, because I don't feel like posting a 5-hour video. So yeah, Colleen Hoover, this is the first book that I'm recommending from her list of books, because obviously November 9th is in the fall time, so it obviously has autumnal vibes. So pick up this book if you haven't done so. Okay guys, so the next Colleen Hoover book that I recommend you guys picking this up very soon is It Ends With Us. And I am aware that this book is literally probably the most famous book on Book Talk, Bookstagram, literally everything. I'm aware. So I know that you guys have probably already heard of this book. I'm specifically recommending it though for the fall time because her sequel to this book, It Starts With Us, comes out October 18th, which I'm very excited about. I already pre-ordered it. Like, I couldn't be more excited about that book. So I'm recommending this book to read before you pick up It Starts With Us, that comes out in a couple weeks. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is not a romance book. There's definitely romance aspects, but there's also other pretty heavy topics and themes that go on in this book. I would look up trigger warnings if you would like. There's just things that happen in this book that it's just not all romance. There's definitely things that happen in this book that are really terrible and really sad, and yeah, but I would still recommend this book. It was still like an amazing read. It's one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books for sure. So yeah, pick up this book if you would like to read It Starts With Us, and I would obviously recommend reading this before you do that. So yeah. Alright guys, so my next Colleen Hoover book that I would recommend is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, and I did just recently read this, so I won't go into too much about it because I don't want to like state my thoughts on the book, but I'll state my thoughts on the themes. And that is that this book took place in like September through November, I'm pretty sure. So it was done during the fall time and it had really cozy vibes. It was just a really great book, but there's also deeper topics in this book along with It Ends With Us that I would also search up trigger warnings for. But guys, okay, I won't even talk about this book because this book was so crazy, but plainly because this book was done in the time zone of September through November, I would recommend this book because there were obviously like cozy fall things that were happening in this book. So yeah, I definitely recommend this book as well. Okay guys, I've got some mystery thriller books. Okay. I've got some mystery thrillers, you know. First we're gonna start with some YA, okay? And this is a book series that I think everyone has already read, and that is the Inheritance Games Trilogy. Guys, if you have not read this series already, what are you doing? Get it, read it, all, please, because this series literally is so stinking good. It's so good. I literally love this series so stinking much. Please pick up this trilogy. It is full of creepy fall vibes. It takes place in a mansion. There's riddles, there's romance, you know, but there's a love triangle, but it's not an annoying love triangle. It's a good love triangle. Sometimes love triangles are annoying, but this one, it was like a love triangle, sort of, but it was so good. So please recommend this book. And please pick up these books because they were just so cozy, so easy to get through. I've never read a series that I've gotten through I've never gotten through a trilogy that I've gotten through so quickly. I mean, they're just so easy to read, so easy to divulge and divest what's happening, and there's always things happening. You will never ever get bored reading these books. Like, I swear, they never get boring. So I definitely recommend picking up these books in this fall season. Okay guys, another trilogy, YA. You probably already know what I'm gonna show you, but I'm gonna show you anyways, and that is the Good Girls Guide to Murder trilogy. I'm aware I only have the 2, and that is because As Good as Dead does not come out in paperback till January, so I'm not picking it up until then. But this book is basically about a girl named Pip, and she is in high school, and she basically is interested in a cold case murder that has happened years ago, and she picks up that cold case and she kind of starts to pick it apart and kind of find out what actually happened. And I won't go any further than that, other than to say these books were also super easy to read, super easy to digest. Like, it's YA, so they're very short, they're very quick, and it's also, they're very creepy as well. Like, there's some creepy aspects that happen in these books, and they're just really awesome. So I definitely recommend picking up this trilogy. Okay guys, I also have some series that I want to recommend. The first series that I want to recommend is the Shatter Me series, and I'm not going to talk about it further than to say that you need to read these. Actually, not only during the fall time, but actually 12 months out of the year, you need to read these books. It doesn't matter if it's fall, spring, summer, winter, read these books. It doesn't only have to be fall, so I'm just recommending it to read, actually. And I won't talk about it further because I read these books this month, and I just won't talk about it further, other than to say you need to read them. And if you don't, you're crazy. I'm just kidding. Read them. Okay guys, another series that I'm going to recommend you guys is ACOTAR. If you guys need to read this series. And if you have not, I'd be surprised if you haven't, but if you haven't, I recommend picking up this series because it is my favorite fantasy series, though it's funny, it's the only fantasy series that I've read, so, you know, I don't really have got a lot to go off of, but there's a reason why it's like the most famous, and that's because it's so good. So literally read them literally every month of the year, reread them every month of the year. That's what I'll be doing. So that's just what I'm gonna do. That's what my plans are. Now that I have talked about the books that I have read and am now recommending, I'm going to give you some books that I have not read yet, but are on my fall TBR. One of them being Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. And guys, I just really have to like talk about this right now. And that's these covers. Like, do you see them? They might be my favorite covers of, literally, they are so beautiful. But I am excited to get into the series because Haley Fam gave these both a 5 stars, so I immediately bought it because it's Haley Fam and she recommended them. So it said, you got me, girl, twist my arm, I'll buy. Literally, if Haley Fam, Destiny Sidwell, Sarah Carioli, or Rachel Catherine recommend books, they like got me. Like, it's like, fine, I'll buy them. Like, I'm gonna buy them. You really don't have to convince me any further. I'll buy literally whatever they read. And Haley Fam gave these both 5 stars, so I am probably also going to. So yeah, guys, I also have some mystery, thriller, dark academia books that I want to get into. 2 thriller books that I want to read is Rock, Paper, Scissors and the Maidens. This is by Alex Michaelides. This is by Alice Feeney. These are both thrillers. I'm not sure if they're murder mystery. All I know is Sarah Carioli also read these and she loved them. So I may as well love them too. You'll have to see in my October wrap-up how I felt about these, but these are books that I am most definitely going to get into this month. Alright guys, I also have a romance, Layla by Colleen Hoover, and I feel like this just looks like a fall book. I mean, these colors, like, they just look obviously fall. And I think it's paranormal romance, and I don't know any further than that, other than this is some people's like favorite Colleen Hoover book and some people's least favorite Colleen Hoover book. So we'll see where I match up in that spectrum, but I'm excited to pick this up. Alright guys, the last book that I'm going to be showing you that is on my fall TBR is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I think Haley Pham read this last year and she gave it a 5 stars and said that it was just such a great spooky book to read, and that it also has dark academia, which is such a cool thing to read about. I think I recently read a book that had some dark academia and I was like, wow, this is a really cool, it was just really interesting. So I don't really know much about this book other than I think a plate takes place. But other than that, I really have no idea, but I'm really excited to pick it up. Alright guys, so that is the end of my fall book recommendations. I am super excited to pick up the books that I'm going to read this fall, and I really hope you guys liked and had some inspiration to pick up any of the books I recommended, because these are just, having a perfect fall book to read is just probably one of the best things ever. So I just really hope you guys liked these recommendations, and I hope you guys enjoyed this YouTube video. And if you haven't done so yet, please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do all those things that you guys know what to do. And I will see you guys in my next YouTube video. Bye.